sometimes I do. I know, it's extremely unusual. Yeah, 5 versus 15. I wasn't going to say anything because I think that my colleagues have spoken so eloquently on this issue, but I think it's important that we remember a couple of things. You know, the first is that, as you all know, I've chosen to make the cornerstone of my third term, I should say, as your mayor, a focus on mental health in our community. And it is critical that we get this right. 1 in 4 of us are touched by mental illness in our lives. And we know that particularly young people from the gender and sexually diverse community suffer mental illness at rates far higher than the general population. So making strides in improving the mental health of everyone means ensuring the mental health and safety of young gay people. It means ensuring the mental health and safety of everyone. And sometimes it feels like this fight is never going to end. Marriage equality has been the law of the land in this country for 15 years. In 2011, I was the first mayor to march in the Pride Parade when I served as the Grand Marshal in my purple straight but not narrow t-shirt. A t-shirt that I don't have to wear anymore because it is incredibly important that the issues of gender and sexually diverse people have become to the center because they are issues of humans, they are issues of citizens here in our community. And if you want to be really hard-nosed about it, you would understand that the future of this community, our economic future and our social future, rests on the fact that we welcome everyone. You hear me say it every single time I open council. You hear me talk about how we have welcomed people from every background, from every corner of the earth to this place with these simple words, you belong here. And yes, we don't really have the jurisdiction to do this. And yes, the people who produce this kind of work, this insidious, terrifying, horrifying work, don't operate with business licenses. They don't advertise in the newspaper. But this is the way in which we can take a stand for the 1.3 million people whom we represent. Where we can say that that promise of our community, that promise that you belong here, is a promise that we stand behind every single day. So thank you, Councillor Woolley, and all the co-signers of this motion. I had nothing whatsoever to do with it, but I was so happy to see this come forward because this is precisely the kind of message we need to send as we send a message of the kind of place we are and the kind of place we aspire to be, a place where every single person can have a life of safety, a life of dignity, and a life of opportunity. Councillor Woolley to close. And yes, the people who produce this kind of work, this insidious, terrifying, horrifying work, don't operate with business licenses.
There is nothing wrong with your television. Do not attempt to adjust the picture. We are now controlling the transmission. We control the horizontal and the vertical. We can deluge you with 1,000 channels or expand one single image to crystal clarity and beyond. We can shape your vision to anything our imagination can conceive. For the next hour, we will control all that you see and hear. You are about to experience the awe and mystery which reaches from the deepest inner mind to the outer limits. Please stand by.
And yes, the people who produce this kind of work, this insidious, terrifying, horrifying work, don't operate with business licenses.
But I believe God makes it very clear that marriage is between a man and a woman, and there's no discussion about it. And for me to support any other definition other than God's definition would be wrong.
And yes, the people who produce this kind of work, this insidious, terrifying, horrifying work, don't operate with business business licenses.
I want to affirm this feeling of a gap between who we feel ourselves to be and what ultimately we're intended to be, or the way that we are now and the way we feel that we ought to be. That gap there. The Bible affirms that gap. It says that we're living in a broken world. It says that the creation itself is groaning for restoration. So if you feel that gap in yourself between where you are and what you feel like you ought to be, the Bible affirms that experience, that feeling.
And yes, the people who produce this kind of work, this
Insidious, terrifying, horrifying work,
Don't operate with business licenses.
The question is our gender something that is given to us or something that we need to create ourselves? Now, if we're working within an atheistic framework, then we have no choice but to try to create our identities ourselves in a variety of ways. I think that can be a great burden. I referenced Camus earlier. He spoke about this as picturing someone carrying, like Atlas, carrying the entire world on their back, that burden of having to create your own identity. If we're talking about this within a Christian framework, then we don't need to create our own identity. Our identity in various respects is given to us by God. And God created people, according to the Bible, male and female. Now, there may still be this gap between where we feel that we are and where we want to be. There may be a gap between what we are biologically and what we feel. God's love for us is holistic. Okay, He loves us as full beings, not just our emotions and our psychology and our feelings, not just our bodies. He loves both of them. And He's the one, if He exists, who knit us together in our mother's wombs and knows us better than anyone. So He loves us in our physicality and our biology, and He loves us in our emotions and our psychology. And His promise is that there can be restoration and reconciliation for them.
There is a story I heard long ago, passed on to me, and I long to share it with you. About a king who left his riches, I'm told, to live as a common man. Oh, that's how it all began. Born in a manger, called a carpenter's son. Look in his eyes, you can see he's the light of the world. And no one else could do the works that He's done to reconcile God and man. Oh, this must be the Lamb. He is the one who can speak to the sky, and the winds and seas obey. He is the one who has taken our sins away. Oh, that's how much, yeah, that's how much that He loves us. Upon a hill near the edge of the town, forsaken by all, there He was crucified. This king was wearing my thorns for a crown, that I might be justified. Oh, that's why my Savior died. He is the one who can speak to the sky, and seas obey. He is the one who has taken our sins away. Oh, that's how much, yeah, that's how much that he loves us. There is a story I heard long ago, passed on to me, and I love